So early on, when I first started my channel, one of the things I wanted to lay out were some models that you could use for sense making. We have since updated all of those model slides. I'm going to take the content from a bunch of those videos and put them here so that they're in one place. Now, those original videos, I was watching the first one earlier today, they're quite good. This is not going to contain the same level of detail, so go back to those if you have questions or concerns, you don't understand something. And if that's not there, comment, like, all that stuff. I will try to make this better as time goes on. So the first set of slides is all about where we are today. And when we're talking about we, what I mean is not for you to use this for yourself necessarily, because that's unlikely that it will work, right? Like you're a fish in an aquarium, you can't see the water you swim in. I'm just going to give you a bunch of waters people are swimming in, and maybe you can recognize it in others. And maybe once you do that, it will reflect on you and it'll occur to you where you're at in this whole system. But this is more for practitioners, right? People who want to help other people to figure out where people are stuck and what the next step is for that person. Now, maybe you can't get them unstuck. Maybe no one can get them unstuck. That's something important to think about. But at least you can locate them and make some decisions about whether or not they can get unstuck, if they get unstuck in the wrong direction, or if they're getting unstuck in the right direction. These things, I think, are roughly determinable, right? And so let's start going through these slides and see what we can see. So effectively what we have is a single view perspective. A lot of people are stuck in the single view perspective. This causes a certain type of binary thinking where you have one identifiable thing and everything else that is not that. And so there's really only one identity. That identity is determined by you, or usually just is you, right? Looks like narcissism. And this is the most common way that we make sense of the world. This is how children make sense of the world when they're young. We have a maturity crisis, or a lack of maturity crisis. This is where it's coming from. People are not upgrading from this particular model, right? We have you at the top and others at the bottom, connected by what will become a single line of friction. It's a very horizontal way to view the world. The best way to think of this is that you're all stuck on a piece of paper, and the center of attention is always you from your personal private perspective, and this causes all the friction. This view simplifies the world, but it leads to this process that people, I don't know if they're still using this term, but certainly we're using this othering process, right? Because there's only a single perspective. So identification, again, is or at least you think you know who you are and what you are, right? And everything else is just not that, right? This is identification against very dangerous stuff. The thing about this model is, this is how 4 and 5-year-olds think of the world, right? It's very easy to hold in your head, right? But it amplifies your personal private perspective over everything else. And when you think of things like politics in a binary frame, or worse yet, in a binary frame with identification against, which is sort of a downgrade of a simple binary frame, we'll call it. I'll do a video on that someday too. But this just frames all social interactions as pretty much equivalent to political struggles. This is why people care about what your politics is when they're having a relationship with you, because there's only one type of relationship. It's political, which is a weird thing to do, but that's why we see that behavior in the world today. And the thing is, with political situations, force is the only perceived solution to disagreements, force or threat of force, right? And that's power. And that's the Marxist view of power too. None of this is a coincidence. Karl Marx has the intellect of 4 or 5-year-olds. that's why this all looks very familiar. And politics is a poor tool for solving complex problems. In fact, this perspective is unable to understand complexity as such, right? Particularly because your perception of people is prone to your own biases and your own self-deception, right? And this reliance on force, which probably you're not the strongest person in the room, right? So that's a problem. So it puts you at a disadvantage. It also projects all of that onto the world, right? And so anybody who disagrees with you must be lying or must be hiding the truth, or they're fooled by someone else who's hiding the truth, right? Very conspiratorial, of course. And it's not like this is the only frame you have for the world necessarily, but there may be spheres like politics where this is the perspective that you adopt for whatever reason. Now, where is it that we're going? Well, the upgrade to the previous model is adding perspective, right? To move away from the destructive you versus others model and to present perspective as such. In other words, your ability to understand that other people have a set of senses, a set of perspective that you don't have, and it's slightly different maybe, or maybe it's a lot different, right? But when you do that, the upgrade is actually towards the common good, because you can recognize that you and they are part of something else, and within that thing, you can sort of find a way towards the common good, which is, roughly speaking, the place where your perspectives not only overlap, but your interests overlap, right? So that removes at least some of the friction. And note how the arrows point, because it's actually important in these slides. So removing the friction is good. This is a huge, whopping upgrade to the previous single perspective model, right? Because now you're able to imagine basically a larger space with you in it and people roughly equal to you in it, right? And then the fact that there's an overlap, and the overlap is the common good. Now, let's upgrade this a little bit more with this method of perspective, right? Which is this how you see the world, how other people see the world. That is equated in psychology, at least, with theory of mind. Not a terrible term. Still don't like psychology, but that term is fair enough. We have a theory of mind. Most children after a certain age get a theory of mind, and that enables them to interact, right, between you, people, and common good. Now you'll note there's still problems here. You're on the top. The common good isn't on the top. That's an issue, right? And people that think like this, they're aware of other people's perspectives, but they're never better than their own perspective. So that the you is still on top, which is a huge problem. But at least because you can imagine more than just your own perspective, and you can imagine a place necessarily where there is a common good. That upgrade enables interesting things like the ability to think with other people, right? There's this shared frame called common good. There's clearly a space where you can all exist together with at least less friction, probably not no friction. The no friction is going to be a problem, by the way, if you try to do that. That's going to cause totalitarianism pretty reliably. Also, with no friction, you can't learn, so that would be bad. And one of the things that happens, we'll say, as the result of this, is that you get in the mode where you can start to understand that we outsource our sanity. And the reason for that is that we do have a shared frame. And that shared frame, that common good, enables us to say, hey, maybe my opinion is not the only opinion or the best opinion, right? And so once you add this, I don't know, there's a shared frame, there's a common good, there's a place all of this exists with less friction, right? Not no friction. No friction's bad. Less friction. And now maybe we can build different ways of relating, right? Better ways of relating because we have that shared frame. so we can form these connections, right? You can connect to the common good, you can connect to other people, and that shared frame is still sitting there, we'll say, in the middle. All right? Now, the problem is we still have issues with this. There's still problems that aren't solved by this. You are still on top. You are still dictating those connections. Again, note the arrows. All right? So this is still a matter of somebody maybe who's trying to be an individual, but it's still a matter of a person trying to impose control rather than engaging in a two-way negotiation or cooperation with people, other people, and the common good. So still a flawed model. So, like, where are we going? Like, what are we looking at? What we're looking at is proper orientation. This is sort of the way to fix all this stuff, right? With you down at the bottom, the common good is this cooperation between you and commonality as such, and then you are also cooperating, right? It's two-way communication with other people. And the important part here is the orientation as such, right? This fixes the ego-driven structure of the previous model because the triangle is to some extent inverted. The common good is on top, and you are moved to the bottom, establishing a proper, humble hierarchy. Very important. Now, we can go further. We can add awareness to this model. So now you don't want to be only aware of your thoughts and your feelings and what's going on with you. You want awareness of the common good at a minimum. Usually you get that by, say, falling in love with somebody or just having a deep friendship with somebody. You get the sense that there are things outside of yourself that are also important, or maybe as important or more important than you. Wouldn't that be amazing, right? And that is another simple upgrade to the model. If someone doesn't have this awareness, even if they're, we'll say, subsumed under the common good and they're aware of and able to negotiate with people, their lack of awareness, maybe that looks like autism or something, right, causes them to still have, we'll say, funny, strange interactions, broken relationships, right? What we need is not just the awareness, but also the participation with other people. That is required. You have to be able to orient, to establish these two-way feedback loops between you and other people, right? And between you and the common good, right? And developing the awareness allows you to negotiate with the common good and view the world through multiple filters. And now, when we add this participation, now you can actually participate because you can orient, right? You can have a different way of looking at this relationship, a different appreciation for this way of relating, whatever that relationship is. You can now at least get a sense for a right relationship with the common good. And as a person, you can actively participate with other persons or other humans to co-create, right? And true co-creation results in an outcome that is greater than the sum of its parts. In other words, it's a whole, not a unity. A unity is not greater than the sum of its parts. That's why they're different words, by the way. That's like the differentiating factor. Good to know. And so this participation allows for this co-creation. Now, this is still not complete. What you'll notice with this is that basically these people are doing all right, right? They're able to function, they're able to be aware of the world, they're able to cooperate with others, at least to some extent, right? But maybe their orientation's off. In fact, I can tell you it still is. There's still no way for them to, we'll say, appreciate and transcend where they are now, right? Because they're just lacking tools. So the result of this awareness and participation is this thing called co-manifestation, right? And co-manifestation is how you and the people interact with the common good, or all the other humans. It's super important because that is effectively what creates the common good, is co-manifestation. When we're participating together and we're making things that are aware of more than just us, right? Because you can make art for art's sake all day long, or you can make art for the sake of your love. You can write a poem for the woman you love, or the man you love, or whatever. But that's not the common good. So you need this co-manifestation that it has an awareness of something larger, an orientation towards something better, like the common good. Now, where are we going past this? That is the ultimate question. And the answer is shared values and community. Now, in some ways, you could take this model and subsume it into the other one, but there's a reason why this is set up this way. So in this one, we kind of see that there's shared values at the top, right? That doesn't take the place of the common good. It is part of what enables the common good. The shared values are subsumed within the common good, right? You're still at the bottom, and there's community out there. And these are all two-way relationships. These are all cooperations. The ability to participate is there. If it's a one-way relationship, it's not a participation, right? You could argue a one-way relationship is a form of participation, but it really isn't. Right? Participation is really always bidirectional, right? Because your actions affect the other person. The other person is not going to be tyrannical about the interface. When it's a tyrannical thing, then yeah, there's no participation, or it's, quote, one-way participation, if you wanted to think of it that way. So now we need to talk about co-manifestation again, right? You co-manifest with the community, and what you're sharing and what you're participating in are the common values. And this is right relation. This is a right relationship, or proper relationship. And you kind of see this in people because they're able to be part of some kind of community and participate there. Now, most people, unfortunately, most people cannot have a right relationship in a community, right? Oh, maybe they, do the music, and they always want to be in charge of the music, and they always want to tell people what music to listen to, right? Maybe they want to run the community instead of just maybe running part of the community, right? Some people are very, very good at being in charge of numbers, for example. People who are good at in charge of being numbers are typically not always, but almost always for real, good at being in charge of people, right? And so those two things usually get separated out. That's usually why you have somebody doing your accounting, for example. And these are the modes in which we are able to cooperate. So we've gone from people to community, right, which contains people. And those common values are still there. Those are the things we can share. We have shared values. And it's the sharing that creates the community, right? This ability to share these things. Communities have certain processes. See my book on community if you want to know more. I'll make sure there's a link up here at some point. So how do we upgrade this a little bit more, right? In a better relationship, you've got this concept of higher aim. The community has a higher aim, and it's cooperating with that aim, and you're cooperating with that aim, and you're also cooperating with the community, right? That's that co-manifestation. And the difference is you have to have reverence for that higher aim. And that reverence that you have for that higher aim allows you to help participate in the community and keep it oriented. Is this going to be successful all the time? No, right? If there's enough people who are corrupted within the community, maybe you can't overcome them with your reverence. I'm sorry, we live in a flawed world, imperfect world. There's not much I can do about that. I've sort of spoken to the manager and sent letters. No response so far. So this is kind of where we're stuck, right? Another way to think about this higher aim is IDOS, right? But to keep a community healthy, it has to strive for this higher aim, right? It has to have these ideals. And maybe I can't reach those ideals, but they have to be there, and they have to be stated and restated over and over, right? To revivify the community and keep it on track towards that, brightest star or highest star or something, as Jordan B. Peterson might say. And this higher aim acts as the amalgamation of all positive community aims and serves to constantly revivify the community. Okay? So, and we've got this lovely, co-manifestation in there. Now, you can see co-manifestation through participation, that's you to the community, and there's a co-manifestation through intent. That's the community to the higher aim. All right? And this is very important to understand, right? Because intent and participation need to be in right relationship to one another. Because if they are not, corruption will ensue. You'll also notice, by the way, in case you didn't catch it, that in the earlier models, you and the thing that you were connected to were on the same level, and now the community is slightly higher, but the higher aim is higher still, right? And all of these little features in these slides actually took a lot of time to do the original set of slides. Of course, my lovely editor fixed them and made them prettier and better than I ever could. It's very deliberate where things are laid out. Very deliberate. So you should pay attention to that. Pay attention to where the arrows are pointing, right? Things like that. So ultimately, this is more or less where we're striving. We're striving for this right relationship and this dual way of co-manifestation, right? Not creation, right? I'm just kind of trying to reserve that word for one event and one event only. Co-manifestation. It's a nice, easy, sort of secular way to understand what I think a lot of people call sub-creation. Not a fan of that term. We've got manifestation. We might as well use it. All right. And so hopefully when you understand that reverence is the thing that enables all this, it kind of keeps it together. Because you have reverence for the higher aim and you can feed that back into the community, that's all part of this right participation, this right relation. And right relation is very, very important. Right? We want to be able to be certain that our relationships, the quality of those relationships, that intimacy is correct. Now, this is where we need to be. Basically in all things, right? You're not part of a single community. Hopefully you're part of many different communities. You don't have a single identity. Hopefully you're part of many communities and therefore you play a different role in each of them. And so when you're at work, you're one thing. When you're at home, you're something else. When you're with your friends, you're something else. All of that is fine. As long as you have this reverence and this higher aim and you have these communities to help and you keep things in right relation with the proper orientation. So that is the end of the slides. And I hope that this is going to help you when you look at people. You can kind of tell which pieces are they missing. Do they have reverence for the things they're doing? If not, well, you know where they are in the course of these slides. Of course, I'll make these slides available. The older set is available on the markoism.org, I think, but we'll make the newer set available too by the time the video comes out. And hopefully you can see what people are missing so that either you can give it to them or you can place them in an organization or with a group of people or with a community, someplace where they won't do too much damage, right? Because if someone doesn't have reverence for the higher aim or they don't have the skills and orientation to enact that, like I said, maybe they're really good with numbers and really bad with people, or vice versa. They're really good with people and really bad with numbers. Well, you don't want them doing your accounting, right? You don't want them handling the money, right? Or maybe you don't want them handling the people or whatever. Everyone's got their flaws, right? And so you want to situate people within your community, within your organization, in a place where they can do, we'll say, the most good. All right, everybody. I hope this is helpful. If you need more, maybe I'll be doing more anyway, but maybe not. I always need comments to help me know what to focus on next. About where people are stuck. see the older videos. I'll link them again, I think, here. And maybe that'll give you the answers. And if it doesn't, let me know. All right, I'm on the Markoism Discord server. You can leave comments here. And hopefully this was worth basically what you gave to it, which is your time, energy, and attention.